Oh, I know. I've seen some recently. I've seen some. Was there a registered voter? Sure. And then I did a visit here when it was, but I don't think I was north of us.
So the Lord has they can't read it all, but they can grow sometimes. Good to see you back.
Remember me? That's good. God, you need them, right? I don't care what else it is. Something's gotta work, right? Of course. I can tell.
Oh, right. This is less than last year. Okay. I was not here.
I've not been here.
Good evening. I would like to call the annual district budget meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now read the warrant preamble. In the name of the state of Maine, you are here.
I would move that we dispense with the reading of the warrant preamble and move directly to Article 1.
Second that.
If there are no objections from the floor, we will move to Article 1A, which is to choose a moderator.
Where could one find what you were going to read?
What did she say? I'm sorry.
We could.
Where could I find what you were going to read, but they did not want you to read?
The preamble?
It's in the warrant that it was posted in each town.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, certainly. All right. So at this time, nominations for moderator are open. Each nomination will require a second, and a motion to cease nominations will be entertained and in order as soon as nominations are made.
I'll nominate Clint Boothby.
All right, a motion by Yuri Kowalski for Clint Boothby. Is there a second? Kathy? Okay. Is there a motion to cease nominations? Okay. Who made it first? Okay. We need the moderator to be elected by a minimum of 2 written ballots. Those residents wishing to cast your ballot may do so now. Clint Boothby has been elected as moderator. I will now swear in the moderator-elect. I, Clint Boothby, do swear that I will faithfully discharge,
I, Clint Boothby, do swear that I will faithfully discharge,
to the best of my ability, the duties incumbent on me as moderator of this annual district meeting,
the duties incumbent on, to the best of my ability, the duties incumbent on me as clerk of order of this meeting,
according to the Constitution and laws of the state,
according to the Constitution and laws of the state,
and that I will support the Constitution of the United States and that of this state,
and I will support the Constitution of the United States and that of this state,
so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof,
So help me God.
so help me God. Bear with me just a minute, folks. I got to swear in the ballot clerks. Most of the preliminaries are taken care of. Lots of room down front here if anybody wants to join us. Welcome, everybody. This is the culmination of the budget work that takes place probably since sometime last fall in all the classrooms, and then in all the principals' offices, and then in all the other offices, and then with the school board in repeated meetings. What's before you is the budget, the district warrant. And this is how it works. I will read the warrant for the record. I'll ask for a motion in a second. I'll open the floor to discussion and debate, and then when you're ready to vote, we'll vote. I should first ask, is everyone here a citizen? If you are, if you need to have registered in order to vote in this meeting. So if you haven't signed up, please do so, and you'll get a card and the other things that you get to vote. So, one other thing, if there is anyone that needs to address this meeting, if there's a question asked that we don't have an answer from someone who's a citizen, we may have to turn to personnel. I don't have a list of who might not be a citizen, but I will, unless there's an objection, we will allow those folks to speak to provide information to us if we need to answer a question. So, without further ado, let us begin. The first article. To see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for regular instruction, the school board recommends $11,712,319.80. That was a terrible job. Do you want me to read that again, or have you all got it in front of you? It'll get better, I promise. Is there a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Do we have comments or questions? Any discussion?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
I just need to know the names of the people that are making the motion, so I'm not sure if they're able to say their names when they make them.
Okay.
If they say them once, I'll write them down.
All right.
Good about it.
Okay, so the motion was over here.
Evan Shaw.
You got it?
Yes.
And then we had the second. Got it? Okay, thank you. Comments or questions? Other discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 2, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for special education. The school board recommends $6,747,364.51. Is there a motion? Mr. Shaw, is there a second? Gentlemen, comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion carries. Article 3, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for career and technical education, the school board recommends no dollars. Is there a motion? Have a motion? Is there a second? We got a second. Comments or questions? Sir?
So I have a question. In 22-23, we had 59 applicants and only 29 placed. How does $0 allocated for this kind of training serve those students who were not placed?
Does anyone want to address? We couldn't quite hear the end of the question.
In school year 22-23, we had 59 applicants to the LRTC. 29 were placed. How does $0 in the budget address the needs of the students who were not placed?
We don't pay anything towards CTE. That is a regional, the Lewiston Regional Technical.
I understand that. 29 students were placed. 30 students were not placed in the school. They wanted to go. How does $0 address their needs? That's my question.
So, we always have a certain, I'm looking at it, we have a certain number of,
I guess
there's lots of agreement.
we're talking about a couple of different things. So this particular warrant covers the costs of the tech center. And the tech center is funded through, my understanding is that it's funded through the state funding formula, and they get their own funding from the state to run the tech center, of which we are a member. As being a member of that regional center, we have X number of spots to send students, just like all the other 5 schools do that send to the tech center. Because the center is funded through the state, their own state funding formula, our local district doesn't allocate funds for that tech center. On the flip side of that, We have a limited number of tech courses that are offered here at the high school, and those are reflected in regular instruction.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Comments? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Motion carries. Article 4, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for other instruction. The school board recommends $628,051.04. Is there a motion? A motion? Do I have a second? You got a second? Comments or questions? Seeing none. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? The motion carries. Article 5, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for student and staff support. The school board recommends $2,416,794.63. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Comments or questions? Seeing none. Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 6. To see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for system administration, the school board recommends $742,419.66. Is there a motion?
Yep.
And a second. Comments or questions? Seeing none. Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? Motion carries. Article 7, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for school administration, and the school board recommends $1,834,950.42. Is there a motion? I have a motion. Is there a second? A second. Comments, questions? Seeing none. Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 8, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for transportation in buses, and the school board recommends $2,370,815.10. Is there a motion?
Yep.
A motion?
Second.
And a second. Comments or questions? Seeing none. Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 9, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. The school board recommends $3,587,076.88. Is there a motion?
Yep.
A motion and a second. And a second. Comments or questions? Seeing none. Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 10, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for debt service and other, there it is, and other, sorry, I got it on 2 pages here. To see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments, the school board recommends $295,015. Is there a motion? A motion and a second. Comments, questions? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion and those opposed, and the motion carries. Article 11, to see what sum this district will be authorized to expend for all other expenditures, the school board recommends $39,987.33. Is there a motion? And a motion and a second. Comments or questions? Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? The motion carries. Article 12 is a little more complicated. To To see what sum the district will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the district will raise and assess as each municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with Maine Revised Statutes Title 20-A, Section 15688. And when I read these, I'm gonna do them by municipality rather than by column. So for the town of Greene, the total appropriated, $7,850,004.50. For the town of Greene, the amount assessed, $2,588,186.66. For the town of Leeds, the amount appropriated, $4,573,942.39. And the amount assessed, $1,417,633.34. And for the town of Turner, the amount appropriated, $11,700,221.83. And the amount assessed, $3,728,801.66. For a grand total of the amount appropriated $24,124,168.72, and the amount assessed $7,734,621.66. The state mandated explanation, which I'll read into the record. The district's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act is the amount of money determined by state law to be the minimum amount the district must raise and assess in order to receive the full amount of state dollars. Is there a motion? I have a motion. I have a second. Comments or questions? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion and those opposed, and the motion carries. Just reading ahead. Just, I want to see what's coming up. Somewhere in here there's a written ballot. I want to make sure I don't miss it. Article 13, local debt obligation, to see what sum the district will raise and appropriate for annual payments on debt service previously approved by district voters for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects, in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the district's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, and the school board recommends $295,015. The state mandated explanation, non-state funded debt service, and the amount is the amount of money needed for annual payments on the district's long-term debt for major capital school construction projects that are not approved for state subsidy. The bonding of this long-term debt was previously approved by district voters. Do we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Comments or questions about this? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion and those opposed, and the motion carries. Article 14, the food service program, to see what sum the district will raise and appropriate to transfer to the school nutrition program, and the school board recommends no dollars. Is there a motion? There's a motion. Is there a second? I've got a second. Comments or questions? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? The motion carries. Okay. This is the one that requires a written ballot. I'll read the whole thing, and then I will ask you if you want to vote to cast your ballot in the ballot box over there. Additional local funds. To see what sum the district will raise and appropriate in additional local funds, and the recommendation is $5,199,932, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $5,199,932 as required to fund the budget recommended by the school board. The school board recommends the amount of $5,199,932 $1,932, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by the amount I just said 3 times before. The school board gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model. The district costs are not fully funded in the essential programs and services funding model. These items include, but are not limited to, advanced placement courses, co- and extracurricular costs, technology coordinator, maintenance and operation costs of our own sewer treatment plant, and inadequate special education funding, including the high cost of out-of-district placements. The state mandated explanation is the additional local funds are those locally raised funds over and above the district's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and the local amounts raised for the annual payment on non-state funded debt service that will help achieve the district budget for educational purposes. So we need a motion first.
Yep.
Do we have it? And do we have a second? And then do we have comments or questions or any discussion?
Can I ask a question about who the second was? I'm sorry.
Who was the second on that? I'm sorry, I had 2 or 3. Betsy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now, if there's no comments or questions or discussion, you cast your vote in the box right over there. So we'll take a short break while everyone has a chance to cast their vote. By a vote of 13 to 4, the motion carries. Article 16. This summarizes the proposed school budget. The proposed school budget to see what sum the district will authorize the school board to expend for a fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30, 2023 from the district's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes Title 20-A, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools, and the school board recommends $30,374,794. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do we have a second? Then we have a second. Do we have comments or questions? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 17, this authorizes transfer between cost centers. Cost center transfer. Shall the school board be authorized to transfer amounts exceeding 5% of the total appropriation for any cost center to another cost center or among other cost centers for 2022-2023 fiscal year, provided that transfers shall not be permitted to increase the authorized total school budget, and the school board recommends a yes vote. Is there a motion? Motion, second? Second? Comments or questions? Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 18 authorizes the adult education program. Shall the district be authorized to appropriate $403,094.86 for adult education and raise $176,460 as the local share, with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of adult education program, and the school board recommends a yes vote. Is there a motion? Have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion and those opposed, and the motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all the business that can come before this district budget meeting. Thank you for your attendance and your participation. I declare that we are adjourned.
Oh, I don't have that online. It's not, that's just an.
Okay. There was an internal question about whether or not there was a 19. There is not on the warrant, so. That goes there. Is there anything else you need to do? I think.
Thanks, everyone, for being here this evening and for participating in the process. And thanks, Mr. Boothby, for moderating for us this evening. And we do have a regularly scheduled meeting that will begin here shortly. There's a little bit of paperwork to do in between now and then. So if we consider ourselves in kind of a in-between recess type thing for 10 minutes, and we'll start back up right here in the same place. Thank you.
that's an accomplishment I would love to accomplish too.
Well, thanks everybody for your patience. We are, I think, all set with our paperwork aspects of this evening's activities, and Yuri has some spare agendas that he's distributing out there so folks can follow along as we go. So I would like to call to order the 17th regular meeting of the Board of Directors of SAD 52, and if Crystal could lead us in the pledge. So our first order of business will be to act on the minutes of the 16th regular meeting, and that was April 7th, and also the first special meeting, and that was April 14th. Any errors or omissions on those? Seeing none, we'll accept those by general consent. Brings us to communications. Kim.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to report the following resignations. Richard Bloom, Tripp Middle School IT Support Specialist, effective June 3rd. Michelle McNear, Tripp Middle School Social Studies Teacher, effective the end of this school year, June 16. Hannah Smith, Green Central School First Grade Teacher, effective also June 16. Chip Groover, Leavitt Area High School Ed Tech 3, effective May 20. Ryan Patry, Turner Primary School Principal, effective June 30. Andrew Levitt, Leavitt Area High School halftime freshman football coach, effective April 20. Jeanette Whitman, MSAD 52 school bus driver, effective May 6. And Jen Bradford, 8th grade ELA teacher, effective June 16.
Thank you. Brings us to item 4, adjustments to the agenda. Do we have adjustments?
We do. We need to remove item 5.5. I think that was a carryover from last year's at this time. And for 5.6, it says administrative report building principals. It is not building principals, it is actually Assistant Superintendent Teresa Gillis, and she's going to update us on where we are in the progress with our school climate survey.
Thank you. Brings us to committee reports. Finance, Yuri.
We did not meet this week.
Not met on finance. PTB, Jessica, that one's also a not met.
We have also not met.
Thank you. Curriculum policy, Joanne.
We did not meet, but we are meeting next week.
So the date of that meeting is
I think it's Tuesday, the 10th.
Tuesday the 10th. Thank you. That brings us to Tristan. And I can hand down the microphone. It's on, because I'm afraid to turn it off.
Currently, it's the month of May, the last full month of the school year. For the senior class, there are several upcoming events, such as class night, senior banquet, graduation, and then project graduation. Prom this year is scheduled to be on the 21st, 7:30 to 10 p.m. Also this week, AP testing began on Monday with the AP government exam. Since then, the AP psychology, literature, and statistics exams have gone on in that order. That concludes the student representative report.
Thank you. That brings us to administrator report. I would turn it over to Teresa.
Do you want me to stand up or do you want me to sit? What would you? I do like to stand. Good evening. So I'm here tonight to provide an update on the school climate survey. And I thought this handout might be helpful for the board, particularly when we get to the graphs. The School Climate Survey Suite is a set of 5 multi-dimensional surveys that measure student, teacher, faculty, and family perceptions of school climate. We administered the survey between March 28th and April 8th, and the schools decided to utilize the following surveys. So we utilized an elementary survey for elementary age students in grades 3 through 6. It has 11 items and a 4-point rating scale from never to always. The secondary schools, our middle and high school, administered the extended version of the secondary survey. It has 36 items, also a 4-point rating scale, and the responses are strongly disagree to strongly agree. School personnel were given the opportunity to take a survey with 29 items, also on a 4-point rating scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And families had the opportunity to take a 21-item survey, also on a 4-point rating scale, responses strongly disagree to strongly agree. So one of the first things we did when the survey closed was we reviewed the participation rate, and we have reopened the survey so that our students who had not yet participated have a chance to do so. Those surveys will be open through next Friday. And school-based teams are already beginning to look at the data and share with all of the staff. The results that we see will be used to focus on identified areas for improvement, and data will be shared at an upcoming school board meeting. The purpose I'm giving is just an overview of what you'll see coming, like a preview, a movie trailer. But it's not a movie. Although overall data can be useful in getting a pulse of the schools really want to disaggregate the data and examine specific items that have a particularly negative impact on school perceptions, especially if data indicate low ratings. For example, national data indicate overall that both elementary and secondary students, the lowest average is on the item referring to the degree to which they, students, can, or families, can identify an adult with whom they can connect. We know that relationships are critical, and this is one of the areas that we'll be looking at as we continue to review the results. At the school-wide level, when you see that this is an area of concern, interventions or strategies can be implemented to ensure that all students are comfortable with identifying an adult in school they can talk to if they need support. And then I provided 2 sample graphs for you. This is not our district's data. These are just sample schools. The first one, figure 1, is from an elementary survey. And if you look at the data, you can see the reddish line going across. The national average is 3.12 on these responses. And down below, I put the survey questions. So for question 1, I like school, the average response from students is 2.80 from elementary students. Again, this is not our school, this is just what you'll see when you see our results. Other questions include, I feel like I do well in school, my school wants me to do well. Question 4, my school has clear rules for behavior. Question 5, teachers treat me with respect and good behavior is noticed at school. Question 7, I get along with other students. Question 8, I feel safe at school. Question 9, students treat each other well. There's that question that I just mentioned. There's an adult in my school who will help me if I need it. And then question 11 is students in my class behave so teachers can teach. So when we are able to share out our individual school data, you will see a similar graph and you'll be able to see areas where students have responded like above the national average or below the national average or right on the national average. Now, as I mentioned, the secondary schools gave the extended survey. The sample figure 2 here is not the extended survey. It just gives you a taste of the questions because quite honestly, that's the graph that they provided me with when I was preparing this. So that's what I am using for the purposes tonight. The national average for middle and high school is a 2.92. And then again, the questions are, I like school, I feel successful at school. You can see those other questions there. I feel my school has high standards for achievement, sets clear rules for behavior, teachers treat me with respect, the behaviors in my class allow teachers to teach, students are frequently recognized for good behavior, and the school is a place at which I feel safe. Also, I know an adult at school, I mentioned that previously, that I can talk with if I need help. So if you look, overall the differences in the national average are a 3.12 is the response for elementary survey, and the national average for the middle and high school survey is a 2.92. So there are slight differences in that, but again, that is just the national average. When the administrators have had a chance to review the data with their staff and share it out, this can take a very long time, but we realize the importance of sharing it out with the school board. So we will begin sharing some preliminary information with you, I believe, at the next meeting. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
So next step-wise, we'll be at our next meeting on the 19th as far as having more complete results to the survey, and at that point, administrators will have had an opportunity to digest some of these results, and we can continue the conversation.
Yes, I will note that we have begun doing things in the schools, and I know that as an administrative team, we talk about this each time that we meet. I think typically, when we have surveys of this nature, we would want to make sure we're fully able to look at them, but again, we realize that it is important to present the data, so we will be working together to get the results shared out. And Superintendent Brand, I believe that is at the next meeting, correct? Is that what we had stated? Okay. Yep.
Thank you. Crystal, did you have a question?
Sorry, excuse me. It was just open to students again, correct?
Yes, because when we looked at, so it's an anonymous survey, we have no way of tracking, but we can determine the number of students that participated, and we can determine the grade levels, and there were some grade levels at some schools where the numbers were lower than we wanted, and we wanted to make sure that all students had a choice and a chance to participate. So what we did is we opened up the survey, and the principals have, in those cases, have said, okay, let's say it's grade 3. Grade 3, please make sure you do this survey tomorrow. So we don't know who took it and who didn't, but with students particularly, because they break it down by grade level, you could tell if a grade level was really small.
Okay, thank you.
So that's why we did that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Gillis? Thank you for the update. We'll appreciate that. We'll have additional information and discussion on the 19th. That brings us to the superintendent's report. Kim.
Thank you, Betsy. And that was a perfect segue to say congratulations to Assistant Superintendent Teresa Gillis, who successfully defended her dissertation on April 15th. And I was lucky enough to be able to be present to see that defense, which was very impressive. And now Teresa is Dr. Teresa Gillis. So Teresa, congratulations. Your dissertation was on the relationship between school principals and instructional coaches in Maine, knowing that instructional coaches are extremely important as far as effect on student learning and support in the classroom, and the relationship between administrators and those coaches can really further that work as well. So congratulations again. So from that high note to data on COVID. So I've been reporting this all year long, and I will continue to, but I'm thinking at some point we don't need to do this any longer. Androscoggin County is still in low in terms of transmission, and our vaccination rates for all groups, student groups as well as by town for Greene, Leeds, and Turner, remain the same as they've been now for several weeks. That is, students are 50 to 54% are vaccinated. In Greene, 65% are vaccinated. In Leeds, 62%, and in Turner, 66% are vaccinated. Number of positive cases at GCS, 1. Number of positive cases at Turner Primary School, no, I'm sorry, I skipped Leeds. Leeds Central School, 0. Number of positive cases at Turner Primary School, 16. So that's an anomaly lately. Turner Primary School also has some cases of influenza A as well. Number of positive cases at Turner Elementary School are 2, at Tripp Middle School 2, and at the high school 3. The number of positive pools this week for Leeds, 0, for Turner Primary School 3, for Turner Elementary School, Tripp Middle School, and the high school, all 0 positive pools, which is just what we want to see. As far as total hospitalized right now with COVID, 169, 30 of those in critical care, and 3 on ventilators. So there is a new section on the front page of our website now called Behavior and Mental Health Resources. All of those resources are in different places in our district, but in a conversation that Teresa and I had recently with a parent, they said, is there any way of putting that together like the COVID data is on the front of the website, because it makes it so easy to see that information in a glance. So we've begun that new section. It has kind of an overview letter from me. It has the names and contact information for our school counselors and nurses and social workers, substance use counselor, and SPUR staff who also provide services. It also has links to Common Sense Media, which has resources for parents and children related to social media and screen time. And there's a link to NAMI, which is a National Alliance on Mental Health, or Mental Illness rather. And we are going to be adding more links. I've asked our social workers and our counselors to let me know what else would be good to have up on that webpage, and they have been sending me some good information we will also get under that section very soon. So we continue to ask that if a child is struggling with mental health and or with behaviors or negative peer interactions at school, please don't hesitate. Please do call the school so that we can work together to support every single child. All elementary schools have been having some fun this week, not just elementary, but I'm going to talk about them first, because this is Staff Appreciation Week. So our parent groups have been bringing in food from a variety of places, and not just one meal, but a meal and snacks, or 2 meals. Sometimes lunch, sometimes breakfast, sometimes both. And I see you smiling, so yes, I think it's been a lot of fun. And that's been greatly appreciated. Also, we've had some interesting guests at TPS recently. There was Victoria Wyeth, who is the granddaughter of Andrew Wyeth, and she gave a presentation on his painting career, and Teresa said it was really engaging. Everyone really enjoyed that. Both TPS and Leeds Central School have authors visiting very soon. I think it's Tamara Wright at TES and Barbara Burgoyne and Patty Farron at Leeds as well coming up. We have round 2 of the After School Academy beginning now. And those academies exist to help fill those learning gaps that we have identified for students. Our physical education teacher, Derek Jordan at Green, has been leading the Heart Challenge, which has raised, and I hope this number is right, Doug, $7,005 for the American Heart Association, which is pretty impressive. At the high school, students are engaged in AP testing this week, which of course is a culmination of all of their hard work. And the high school is also holding their second blood drive with all slots filled. And student council is planning the prom, and that will be at the Royal Oak Room. And also graduation this year will be back at the Coliseum. So I have to say, Eben, you and your staff did a phenomenal job over the last 2 years. I mean, there was the first graduation in the back parking lot, on a stage, everyone parked in their cars, and yet it still felt great, and we still were able to recognize students. Last year at the airport was a bit windy and exciting, also went extremely well. I think it'll be nice to be back at the Coliseum this year and feel a little bit back to tradition. And Jana, I don't have anything from middle school because we were not together in that meeting. Is there anything you'd like to add?
We'll be here in the weekend.
Beautiful, beautiful. Excellent. Okay. And I would also like to thank Cassandra Lavoie, who is here helping us this evening with the budget meeting, and Andrea Hammond and Amy Pelletier, who both work in our business office, because they've been so proactive in covering and helping me during my administrative assistant Martha Bilodeau's absence. And they've just gone above and beyond to fill all of those needs, and there are a lot of them. So thank you very much to them.
Thank you. That brings us to public comment. We do have the podium set up. I'll just zip through that policy to make sure we're all on the same page again. During the time set aside for public participation, the chair will be responsible for recognizing all speakers who must identify themselves as they begin talking. Chair may limit the time allotted for comments on a particular topic as well as the time each individual may speak, and I believe we're at 3 minutes at this point. In the event of a sizable audience, which is not so much tonight, all speakers are to address the chair and direct questions or comments to particular board members or the superintendent only with approval of the chair. Requests for information or concerns that may require further research may be referred to the superintendent or to be addressed at a later time. Speakers are not permitted to share gossip, make defamatory comments, or use abusive or vulgar language. A student's name is not permitted to be discussed other than by his or her own parent or guardian. In order to make efficient use of meeting time, the board asks speakers to avoid duplication or repetition of comments. The board requests that groups or organizations be represented by designated spokespersons. No complaints or allegations will be allowed in public concerning any person employed by the school system or against particular students. These matters will not be considered in a public meeting, but will be referred through established policies and procedures. The chair has the authority to stop any presentation that violates these guidelines or the privacy rights of others. Thank you. And we have our first speaker.
Crystal Nicholas from Green. On August 18th, my son delivered a letter to the superintendent describing his adverse health outcome as a direct result of forced masking. That letter was not answered. On August 18th, I sent a polite email detailing this harm to a dozen individuals. Board superintendent, principal, nurse, I received 0 responses. Eventually, I had a conversation with the nurse. I was informed that unless she saw the student that day, there could be no report of injury. Therefore, a child enduring harms brought on by a school he no longer trusts, who hides their injury only to later confide to his parent, this luckless child has no recourse under our present policy. We parents who complained were each of us told separately that there were no complaints, yet I spoke to 5 parents whose children suffered adverse events, and each of them complained. There are at least as many that I am aware of that I did not speak to, as well as others like my son who hid their injuries. Indeed, with such effective marginalization, one can little wonder why more students would not wish to come forward to be ignored. Parents attested to the physical and emotional damage, the desperation that masking was causing in their children. Children, my son among these, spoke on how the inability to breathe hurt them. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but it was the right thing to do. But this wasn't even why they spoke. They spoke because they cared about students and teachers, and they did not want them to have to endure what they did or worse. The school officials took what they heard and read and, instead of talking to these children or their parents, asked the CDC, who in turn cast aspersions upon these children who dared to defy their narrative. Again, as I wrote in my letter of August 18th, I am requesting a policy change as follows. No policy, practice, standard operating procedure, directive, mandate, rule, etc., that results in or contributes to injury or harm to students or staff may be enacted by MSAD 52. Any report of injury will be answered as soon as possible and no later than 3 days. And I distributed copies of my son's letter and the letter to the board. I'm afraid I only have 10 copies total, though. Thank you very much.
Public comment this evening? If not, that brings us to old business, which we don't actually have any of. Moving right along to the consent agenda, would entertain a motion for the list. Motion from Yuri, do we have a second? Kathy? All those in favor? Unanimous? That brings us to new business. Item 9.1 is to act on the reappointment of the following for the 21-22 school year. 9.1.1 is probationary contract teachers, second year. Do we have a motion for that? Yuri, do we have a second? Crystal? All those in favor? Unanimous. 9.1.2, probationary contract teachers, third year. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Crystal, do we have a second?
Second.
Those Who was the second? Thank you. Jamie, all those in favor? Unanimous. 9.1.3, first continuing contract teachers. Yuri, do we have a second? Second from Kathy. All those in favor? Unanimous. And there is no other, or there is other. That's why it's in red. Sorry, Kim.
Yes, if everyone would please put those 3 sheets of paper separately, because I'll collect those. Thank you.
And those, just so board members are aware, those are the sheets that do have people's names. We'll collect those before you exit. Conveniently enough, those sheets are also marked as confidential, so that should help with the bookkeeping there. That brings us to item 9.2, instructional nominations.
So the first one is Evan Shaw from the high school, and they are nominating Alicia Soroy for the position of instructional coach at Levitt Area High School. Alicia has been an English teacher here at Levitt since 2006, so for quite some time, and for the last several years has also served as the network leader for the English department. She has a great deal of experience working specifically with English language arts standards, as well as a strong background in instructional practices. So when I met with Alicia, Evan, I was so excited to hear her enthusiasm, her depth of knowledge, and she already has some great ideas about how she wants to approach the work to support teachers all focused on students and improving their learning. All right, the second nomination comes from the hiring committee at Leeds Central School, and this is for Jude Lever to work as an elementary teacher there. Jude has 6 years of teaching experience in the 3rd and 4th grades at Geiger Elementary School in Lewiston, and he will start at Leeds as a multi-age 3rd, 4th teacher. The committee had many, many nice and appreciative things to say about Jude in terms of he's always looking for students to build skills in problem solving. He recognizes that they need to be seen and heard. He's very strong in building relationships and making connections with students, and he supports his classroom with social emotional learning as well. When I met with Jude, I was also struck by his passion and excitement about working with students and making sure that each of them feels valued and totally engaged. So we're also very happy to nominate Jude.
And is there anything for other on that one? Or is that?
There's no other.
There's no other. So I would entertain a motion for those.
So,
Kathy, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Crystal?
Who was the first? Betsy, I'm sorry.
Kathy. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Brings us to item 9.3, and that is a nomination of a Facilities and Transportation Director. Kim.
Thank you. The search committee, and I appreciate everyone who was a member of that search committee. It was a large committee of 15 people. The search committee nominates Dave Coburn as the next Facilities and Transportation, good grief. Okay, Dave Coburn as the next Facilities and Transportation Director in MSAD 52. Dave has solid experience in the facilities side of this work. He is looking forward to participating in training to support him as he works with the Transportation Department as well.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Yuri, do we have a second?
Second.
Kyle? All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. 9.4, approval of the 22-23 school calendar. Kim?
Thank you. So the school calendar is very similar as it has been in other years. The big difference is that you will see that we have added a spring teacher, parent, student conference in March in this calendar. And I added that because I have been talking about the need to do that for several years, and then we even talked about it during the strategic planning work, and then of course we had COVID hit and we put things off. I believe that spring conference, that formalized opportunity for parents in school to connect and discuss students and their progress and their needs is especially important now after part or all of 3 years being impacted by the pandemic. We know that we have learning gaps, behaviors, and mental health issues, so this formalized opportunity is more important than ever.
Do we have a motion on this?
So moved.
Yuri, is there a second?
I'll second.
Crystal, discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? That brings us to 9.5, and that is second reading and adoption of revised policy EBCB, fire drills / emergency evacuation drills.
So moved.
Yuri, do we have a second? Crystal? Second from Crystal. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? 9.6, second reading and adoption of revised policy IKE, student progress through the grades / promotion, retention, and acceleration of students. Do we have a motion on this one?
Yes.
Crystal? Second?
Second.
Jamie? Discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? 9.7, first reading and acceptance of revised policy EEAEF, video cameras on transportation vehicles and regulations EEAEF-R.
So moved.
Yuri, do we have a second? Kathy, second. Discussion on this one? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? One opposed? Motion carries. 9.8, first reading and acceptance of revised policy JJE, fundraising activities and regulations, JJE-R. Do you have a motion on that one?
So moved.
Yuri. And Kathy for the second. Discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Brings us to 9.9, first reading and acceptance of revised policy JK, student discipline. Do we have a motion on this one?
So moved.
Yuri?
Second.
Second from Kathy. Discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Are there any other items of business we need to take up this evening? If there are none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
And that was Crystal and Kathy. All those in favor? I think that one was unanimous as well. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your evening.